Story 1. Rate limit reached. Taking a couple of minutes. Stand by for an answer. Story 2. Loading Reddit and sorting by best does not work. Other than that, not a problem yet. Story 3. This is the first I am hearing that there is an outage. I have not been affected so far. Story 4. I cannot play my New York Times games yet. Give me connections or give me death. Story 5. If not for the flood of posts about it, I wouldn't even know. Story 6. I am working remotely today. I am going to find out in about 2 hours how much of our cloud system and other programs rely on Amazon Web Services. Story 7. I got paged when it started, then went back to bed after confirming the outage. 20 minutes later, right as I was half asleep, a smoke detector started chirping because of a dead battery. I was so upset, laughing out loud. Story 8. Oddly, many of my applications are giving me a hard time. However, my phone reception has improved significantly. It seems as if American Telephone and Telegraph flipped a switch to improve my poor service. Story 9. I got paged while sitting on the toilet. It was my last on-call shift at my company since I had just resigned, so very memorable. I could not reply on Slack. Friends who work at Amazon Web Services told me odd things were happening across their internal services. My partner complained that our 8 sleep device could not be turned on near bedtime because Amazon Web Services was down. Story 10. My doorbell camera is down, so I have to actually look through the peephole to see who is there. I feel like some kind of 19th century peasant. Story 11. Wordle apparently uses Amazon Web Services and won't let me log in. I have to keep my 500-day streak alive. Story 12. It makes me hate even more how certain companies are monopolizing the internet. Story 13. It is midterms week, but Canvas apparently uses Amazon Web Services. My midterms are inaccessible. I am having a great day. Story 14. It broke all of our delivery systems at work. Airflow is down. The Atlassian suite is down. Slack is down. Of course, Monday is the day we publish to clients, so I have been getting hammered by leadership because they are getting hammered by clients. I just wanted a quiet Monday morning. Story 15. My partner works at an Amazon warehouse. They played trivia and tag until Amazon services began to partially function. One of my jobs uses Amazon Web Services, so the site has been down. Story 16. We will have to deal with unhappy customers because global outage means nothing to people, and many do not realize that small companies like ours use Amazon Web Services. Story 17. The Ring application is down, so I cannot watch my cats doing cat things while I am working. Story 18. I woke up to find that it had happened. There were no effects on me, to my knowledge. Story 19. I am a hospital worker. Websites are down for checking and submitting authorizations for laboratory tests and imaging. Story 20. I was called into the situation room at 3 in the morning. Story 21. Procore is preventing some of our superintendents from logging in and uses Amazon Web Services extensively. Story 22. I wasn't able to adjust the thermostat from my bed when I woke up. Story 23. All of our online ordering and delivery services are down at the moment. Story 24. I could not book an emergency appointment with the veterinarian for my cat. Story 25. The website we use at work fails to function 90% of the time. I have to keep retrying to complete tasks, and we may get only a minute of the site functioning. I work as a dispatcher for truck drivers, and this issue significantly delays our schedule. Story 26. I need to submit my entire Doctor of Philosophy dissertation by tomorrow. Canvas and all of our university-affiliated sites are down. I have to laugh or I will cry. Story 27. Loading Red Hat this morning was annoying, but I logged in. One of my coworkers cannot get her snaps to load. Story 28. Autodesk Revit building information modeling files are hosted on Amazon Web Services, so my structural engineering office cannot work on models that we do not have stored locally on our server. Fun times. Story 29. It is preventing me from doing my work. Story 30. The customer relationship management system that accounts for approximately 70% of my job duties is extremely slow. so I can barely get anything done. Story 31. I work here, and although there is literally nothing we can do, they won't let us go home. Everyone says it's free money, but I don't want it. Story 32. Our primary billing and data management system is down for the entire company. Story 33. I work in academia. We use Canvas as our learning management system, but I had no access on the first day of the second block, which was also the day the first block grades were due. I take 2 online classes and teach 2, so without access I could not work. I also could not order my groceries through Instacart as planned. Story 34. Amazon announced just now that they fixed the problem at 8:33 Central Time. Edit. 6:33 Central Time. Story 35. Australia had a full workday with no issues. Reddit was patchy. Why could it not be CrowdStrike again? I would have taken a day off. Story 36. Great to see they have their priorities straight. Streaming services are back, but education services are still down. My son cannot attend his online classes because Canvas, one of the largest online learning management systems, still will not load. Story 37. Some crucial work-related services, such as Jira, were down. I waited a few hours for them to come back online. Story 38. My entire organization runs on Amazon Web Services. My job is to help provision its resources, so it's a typical Monday. Story 39. I am an on-call operations engineer for a software company. I was rudely awakened at 3:42 a.m. and have been assessing impact and posting status since. There was not much to do when the underlying infrastructure was unavailable. Earlier, Reddit was rate-limited and problematic for many users. Slack seems slow. Story 40. Is there information about that email sent around? Amazon Workspaces is down. Yes. I am going to receive questions about this. Is there any estimated time of arrival? We are not Amazon. The Amazon Workspaces service is down. Story 41. Crazy how everyone is on one platform these days. No wonder things go down so fast. Story 42. I do not know what that is, but so far I do not notice any difference. Story 43. The takeout delivery driver had to call us to open the door because our Ring doorbell just sat there. Trying to fix it led me to Reddit, which was inactive, so I checked Blue Sky and found posts about Amazon Web Services being down. I am just glad it happened after business hours here in Australia, because the system I work with uses Amazon Web Services and it would have been a nightmare otherwise. Story 44. I still have to work a computer-based job from home, so clearly it is not affecting enough things. Story 45. It turns out the American District Telegraph home security company uses Amazon Web Services. I set off my burglar alarm this morning. Story 46. Our single sign-on system that we use to access educational programs and curriculum online is down. I am answering many email inquiries and live chat messages explaining the situation. Story 47. I work in a transfer center at a local hospital. Our phones use the internet and we could not log into them to transfer patients in and out. Story 48. I cannot do my job without Amazon Web Services. Laughing out loud. The whole office is just sitting here twiddling their thumbs. Story 49. I will just say that if you need to come to the emergency room today, you are going to have a bad time. Story 50. It appears that I cannot call my insurance company. I assume their phone system is hosted in Amazon Web Services. Story 51. The entire architectural practice stopped work because our software licensing is provided through Amazon Web Services. Story 52. I had to turn on the light by hand without Alexa's help. It was a rough start to the day. Story 53. I am glad I did my Amazon Flex deliveries yesterday and not today. Story 54. I was supposed to go to the dentist today for a procedure I was really nervous about. They prescribed a high dose of Ativan and told me to take it an hour before the appointment. They called 30 minutes before my appointment and canceled because their system was down due to an outage. I ended up taking 2 doses of Ativan during my workday for nothing. Thanks, Amazon. Story 55. My morning was terrible. I work in information technology, so there were many tickets about systems being down that we had no control over. Story 56. Could not get a teledoc appointment for a sick relative because the login page was down. Story 57. Canvas is down and my students are freaking out. I'm back to the whiteboard. Story 58. I cannot open my blinds. Also, I cannot post this comment. Story 59. Canvas for my school is down, so I cannot take my math exam. I also cannot see my work schedule. Story 60. Our phone system runs on Amazon Web Services, so it is completely down. This is not good for a healthcare facility. Story 61. I have a juicy email waiting for me on Ancestry.com, and I cannot read it. Story 62. Half of the websites we use for work are down or barely functional. I work from home as a loan processor and have not received any assignments this morning, as everyone seems to be struggling. Story 63. The Amazon order page returned a 404 error, and delivery estimates are no longer showing. Reddit profiles and comments are intermittently unavailable. My bank is slow and may not connect at times today. Story 64. I drive for Lyft. I cannot work or print out earnings statements at all. Story 65. It is making me wonder if they were working on improving their systems with artificial intelligence. Story 66. We started at 7:30 in the morning and are currently on a lunch break. We did not work all day, but we are still here. Story 67. The midterm I had not studied for was rescheduled because Canvas is down. Thank God. Story 68. John Deere infield data sharing is not working for our harvest. Story 69. My bank uses Amazon Web Services and I have not received my direct deposit. Story 70. My digital wallet holds almost all my money because it earns interest. Story 71. I had trouble boarding my flight. I could not use my debit card because the online payment processing system was down. Story 72. The health portal is blank, and I cannot get prescriptions sent to the pharmacy. I wish I had known about the outage before leaving the doctor's office. Story 73. My final mortgage payment is not showing in my banking app. I am very worried. Story 74. I could not order food online because all my local restaurants appear to be relying on Amazon Web Services. So I had to order inside the restaurant and wait for my takeout. Life is so cruel. Story 75. I work as a manager for a company that provides services to Amazon. They are threatening to cancel service contracts with companies like mine because they say we are not doing enough to help. I have long suspected that Amazon fabricates emergencies to create panic among their suppliers and to negotiate better prices. Worst of all, it works. Businesses are too afraid to stand up to them. Long story short, stop buying from Amazon. Story 76. The game Clash of Clans is not working. My colleague's Ring doorbell is not working. The hospital functions at my workplace are unaffected. Story 77. I was at Disney World. I woke up because I heard my husband snoring instead of the rain sounds playing on my Alexa app. I was able to play the rain sounds on YouTube. Story 78. I cannot log into Uplay to play Assassin's Creed 3 because the code is not being sent to my email. This is really annoying. Story 79. The only problem I have is that I keep getting a rate limit error on Reddit because it thinks I am spamming comments despite posting only one comment every couple of minutes. Story 80. I could not read the next book in my series. I have the day off because I am sick. Story 81. Both of my Ring cameras will not work and I cannot log into the application. Story 82. Well, work should be fun today. I'm surprised I didn't get called. Story 83. It looks like our work-related Amazon Web Services systems were either unaffected or back online by the time I tried around 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Story 84. Perplexity stopped working for a bit. Reddit was slow to load, and sometimes posts failed to save. Story 85. I was allowed to sit down for the last 3 hours of my shift. Story 86. I am hosted on the Google Cloud platform, so I can smugly relax because my infrastructure is fine until the platform goes down. Story 87. Reddit was unstable for a short time, but it is fine now. Flickr uploads are still not working. Story 88. I couldn't order my doner kebab because the register system wasn't working, so I got a schnitzelbrat instead. Story 89. Honestly, this post is the first I am hearing of it. I imagine that is how much it will affect me. Story 90. I could not obtain a temporary parking pass at my university this morning because they could not process card transactions, and I cannot use the location sharing application my family uses. I hope this is resolved before I have to buy food today. Story 91. Loading anything on Reddit did not work. We are good now, though. Story 92. I played the game Wordle in the middle of the night, and now I cannot log in to get my statistics to show my family. I do not know how I will carry on. Story 93-0. The accounting software our company uses was down. That meant I had no work for a couple of hours. Story 94. No grocery deliveries are available today for either address. Story 95. Had to refresh Reddit posts a couple of times before I could read them. Seems like it is over now. Story 96. We put a complete stop to mobile and delivery orders at work. A customer came to the drive-thru asking if the application was not working. I did not know there was an outage at that time, so I explained that he probably had an item in his order that was not active on our menu. Story 97. I received a notification that my X-Sense smoke detectors and water leak detectors were offline. The notification asked me to check my wireless network. This was strange because my internet was working fine. I guessed X-Sense must use Amazon Web Services, which was why the devices were offline rather than a problem with my internet connection. All detectors and the application are now back online. Story 98. I had to use a virtual private network to connect to the west coast of North America before I could browse Reddit. All good now, laughing out loud. Story 99. I slept through the entire thing, so it did not affect me at all. Story 100. I cannot use Canva, which is moderately irritating but not a showstopper. Story 101. Reddit was at a minimum, and I couldn't do anything with Venmo. Story 102. God damn it. I am on the West Coast just waking up. All my work systems are frustratingly down. I am shocked my clients have not started calling yet. Story 103. I have smart bulbs that rely on an internet service to control them. I could not turn my lights on this morning. Story 104. Half my work tools live on Amazon Web Services, so performing tedious tasks there is difficult. Story 105. It took me 3 attempts for my Snapchat messages to be delivered. Story 106. So that explains why so many websites are being weird today. Laughing out loud. Story 107. At my hospital, the cafeteria consoles cannot locate the food when you scan it. We have to pay the old-fashioned way, with an actual cashier ringing up our purchases. Story 108. I want to short Amazon on Robinhood. Turns out Robinhood runs on Amazon Web Services. I guess Bezos shorted me. Story 109. It appears that I cannot call my insurance company. I assume their phone system is hosted in Amazon Web Services. Story 110. My entire smart home setup is through Amazon, so now I cannot control anything in my house, but that is a minor inconvenience since everything still works manually. Story 111. Not me personally, but my husband uses it for work. Do not ask me what he does, but he said something about Amazon Web Services Fargate. Story 112. Wow. Is that why the Capital One application was not loading 7 hours ago? Story 113. I think it is causing NBIS stock to drop, which at the moment has cost me $210. Canvas for my class won't load, so my lesson for the day cannot be done. Story 114. I've barely been able to get my posts and comments to load on my profile. A minor inconvenience, but that's all. Story 115. A lot of the network infrastructure at work is either hosted in United States East 1 or depends on something hosted there, so I can slack off on Monday and blame it on Amazon Web Services, which is nice. Story 116. The Starbucks app was unreliable when I tried to order my coffee for my commute. Story 117. I experienced issues with Reddit. I also could not stop my alarm this morning. Story 118. I woke up at 3 in the morning when the white noise from my Echo stopped, so I played a video on YouTube instead. Aside from that, I have not noticed any issues. Story 119. I would love to tell you, but the Jira service desk is down, so I do not know what the queue looks like. Story 120. It has broken short message service two-factor authentication on DigitalOcean. I cannot log in to manage servers. Story 121. My Venmo account is locked, and I do not have access to my money. Fortunately, it is only a secondary account and contains little money. I am also having to make multiple attempts to post comments on Reddit. Story 122. I play Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms and like to set up my parties to run some patron variants offline while I am at work. I was unable to do that this morning. Also, I cannot access a bunch of subreddits. Some work and some do not. Story 123. Our primary single sign-on service is down and is blocking access to computers running the Mac operating system and the Chrome operating system. Other web services are affected. Story 124. Reddit errors. Communities cannot be found. Community does not exist. Server errors occur. Unable to post comments. Story 125. It's good to know there was a reason for it. I kept trying to buy something last night and couldn't check out. Story 126. I cannot sign in to Hoopla to listen to my audiobook, and I cannot sign in to my Ally Bank account to make a mobile deposit that must be made today. In other words, a small taste of the fuckery that would occur if internet access were cut off. Story 127. I might be evicted from my apartment because my direct deposit is not going through, and I have to pay today. Story 128. Amazon Web Services is really out here trying to mess with my Reddit streak. Story 129. Thankfully, Pornhub was working fine this morning, although Reddit was up and down. There were a lot of issues at my workplace today. I am not paid enough to care. Story 130. I woke up and my rain sounds were not playing on the Alexa. I started my day with social media work for a volunteer group. Canva was down, so I could not post content I had already created there. I used Photoshop instead to make a post. My husband's alarm did not wake him because it was on our Alexa device. I had a very full workday, as did my husband, so I thought I would order groceries for lunch. Instacart, Grubhub, and DoorDash were unavailable, so that was not possible. I could not complete some parts of my projects at work because Adobe was down. I completed other tasks, but they were not visible because Jira was down. I worked on slides I needed to complete anyway. However, I could run the laundry, open a soda, and I made a nice lunch from items we already had. It was annoying, but it was not the end of the world where I live. Story 131. Delivery services are unreliable. Reddit is worse than usual. On the upside, I have 5 bars intermittently. Story 132. The dialer system was offline for a good part of the day. It was very quiet. I rather liked it. Story 133. I could not start my Roomba from the application. I had to push the clean button on the robot. Story 134. Because Zero was down and I am on the accounts team at work, we spent a few hours twiddling our thumbs and shrugging when anyone asked us for anything. Story 135. I cannot log in to Canvas right now to complete my school assignments. Story 136. I cannot do my assignments on Canvas, so I have a decent excuse to take the day off. Story 137. It is unconfirmed whether they use Amazon Web Services, but the Internet Movie Database was not working at all earlier today. Story 138. It has made me highly skilled at acknowledging PagerDuty alerts at scale. Story 139. It is my first day working at the bank, and the system has been down all day and is still down. Interesting first day on the job. Story 140. I cannot access my online classes for the final college courses I need for my degree. I am very frustrated. Story 141. I will call customer service now and ask for compensation. The inconvenience is the main issue. Story 142. For anyone doing project management on Trello, the service was unavailable for 30 minutes. Story 143. My Amazon Whole Foods delivery, scheduled for 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., was rescheduled to no later than 4:30 p.m. I was unable to reach customer service. There was no information on Reddit until I found this thread a few hours later. I traced the delivery to the Whole Foods location and obtained more information there than anywhere else. Drivers could not work today due to an issue with the delivery system, and all orders were canceled. Amazon has only just sent an update. Story 144. Not sure if it was just a huge coincidence, but my Vizio smart television stopped working after only 2 years. It still has sound, but the screen displays symmetrical black, red, and sometimes white lines. On a day trip, my tap-to-pay contactless payments did not work more than half the time, and I could not check my bank account balance. Story 145. This would never have happened if the internet had remained decentralized like it was in the 2000s. Story 146. I was unable to submit assignments because Canvas, the website my university uses for course instruction and grading, was down. Story 147. Test. Is this thing working? Just imagine when they decide to pull the plug for real. Story 148. Alexa, read me my news this morning. Claude is up and running. I'm not sure he uses Amazon Web Services. Reddit is wonky, but it always is. So far, I'm doing fine. I ordered some items from Amazon yesterday that are time-sensitive. I hope they get their act together soon. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.